On the world of Kepra 9, strength was measured in mass, muscle density, and the ability to shatter stone with bare hands. The heavier your bones, the thicker your hide, the more respect you earned. It was a simple system, one that had ruled the planet's warrior academies for centuries. That was why no one took Yara Quinn seriously. She stood barely 1.5 meters tall, her limbs thin by Kepran standards, her shoulders narrow, her movements unassuming. When she first arrived at the Kepra Unified Combat Institute as an exchange cadet from Earth, the instructors exchanged skeptical glances. The other students didn't even bother, hiding their amusement. "Is she lost?" one of the rock-skinned Brakthal muttered. "Maybe she's here to study tactics," another laughed. "No way that thing fights." Yara heard them. She always did. But she kept her head down, adjusted the strap of her training bag, and walked to her assigned dorm. She had learned long ago that letting others underestimate her was a gift. The first week was theory only, and even then the gap was obvious. Kepran combat philosophy emphasized dominance, overpower the enemy, crush resistance, and the fight through overwhelming force. Yara listened quietly, taking notes, occasionally tilting her head when something didn't quite align with what she knew. During one lecture, Instructor Karath, a massive four-armed veteran whose scars told stories of planetary invasions, paused mid-sentence and stared at her. "Human," he rumbled, "your species lacks natural weapons, weak bones, fragile muscles. Why are you here?" The hall went silent. Yara looked up slowly.
"To learn," she said.
A few students snickered. Karath snorted. "You will learn pain." That promise was tested sooner than expected. On the 10th day, practical evaluations began. Cadets were paired at random in the primary arena, a gravity-adjustable pit designed to simulate dozens of environments. When Yara's name was called, the display flashed her opponent, Rethak of Clan Mole. Rethak was enormous, nearly 3 meters tall, plated in natural armor, with fists like sledgehammers. The crowd leaned forward, anticipation buzzing. This wouldn't be a fight. It would be a demonstration. Yara stepped onto the sand, boots light, posture relaxed. Rethak laughed openly. "I will try not to kill you, little human." The signal tone sounded. Rethak charged. He moved faster than someone his size had any right to, his fist cutting through the air toward Yara's head. She didn't block.
She didn't retreat.
She sidestepped at the last possible instant, letting the punch pass where her skull had been. Then she moved. Her foot swept behind Rethak's lead leg while her shoulder drove into a joint seam. It wasn't about force, it was leverage. Balance. Rethak stumbled, surprised, and that moment was enough. Yara pivoted, struck a nerve cluster at the base of his neck, then rolled away as his massive body crashed into the sand. Silence swallowed the arena. Rethak tried to rise. His limbs didn't respond. The med-drones swarmed in, scanning him. Temporary neural disruption. Non-lethal.
Clean.
Yara stood calmly, breathing steady. Instructor Karatha's eyes narrowed. The next matches weren't any kinder. Against a blade-wielding insectoid, Yara flowed through a pattern of evasions and redirections that matched classical Terran martial arts. Against a quadrupedal grappler, she dropped low, using ground fighting techniques adapted for zero-gravity environments. Against an energy shield specialist, she waited patiently, forcing him to exhaust his power before closing in with brutal efficiency. Each time, the same pattern repeated. She didn't overpower. She outthought. Whispers followed her through the halls. She shouldn't be able to move like that. That style, no, those styles. How many does she know? She fights like she's been doing this her entire life. By the end of the week, the whispers reached the instructors. Karath summoned her to his office, a stone-walled chamber overlooking the arena. He didn't invite her to sit. "You are not feeble," he said bluntly. "You are deceptive." Yara met his gaze. "I was trained to survive." "By whom?" "By humanity," she replied. "All of it." She explained then, not boasting, not apologizing. Humans had no natural weapons, no armor, no overwhelming strength. What they had was adaptability. Over centuries, they had studied every form of combat they encountered. They absorbed techniques, refined them, merged them. Yara herself was a product of that philosophy. She had trained in striking disciplines, grappling systems, weapons combat, zero-G fighting, and alien styles reverse-engineered and optimized for human biomechanics. "Every weakness," she said quietly, "is an invitation to innovate." Karath was silent for a long time. The final trial came unexpectedly. 3 weeks into the term, the Institute's orbital defense grid failed. A raiding force, mercenaries, not soldiers, slipped past the system and struck the academy itself, hoping to ransom the cadets of powerful clans. Chaos erupted. Security teams mobilized, but the raiders were experienced and well-armed. Corridors became choke points. Training arenas turned into kill zones. Yara was in the East Wing when the first blast doors fell. She didn't freeze. She moved. Using fallen equipment, improvised tools, and her own body, she coordinated a defense that shouldn't have worked. She guided larger cadets into positions where their strength mattered most. She took the narrow passages herself, where size was a liability. A raider with powered armor charged her. She disarmed him with a joint lock designed for creatures twice her mass. Another fired blindly down the hall. She closed the distance under the fire, using angles and timing, striking pressure points that armor designers never considered. By the time reinforcements arrived, the East Wing was secure, and every camera had captured it. The footage spread quickly. Analysts replayed it in disbelief. No single combat style dominated her movements. She adapted on the fly, blending techniques seamlessly, choosing the right answer for each threat. When the crisis ended, Instructor Karath addressed the assembled cadets. "You judged strength by appearance," he said. "You believed mass was power. Today, a feeble human proved you wrong." He turned to Yara and inclined his massive head, a gesture of deep respect. "Teach us," he said. Yara exhaled softly. For the first time since arriving on Kepra 9, she smiled. "I can," she said, "but you'll have to unlearn some things first." In the months that followed, the Institute changed. Training programs were rewritten. New hybrid styles emerged. Humans were no longer seen as weak, they were studied. And Yara Quinn? She remained small, quiet, easy to underestimate. But across the stars, one lesson spread faster than any raid or war ever could. Never judge a human by how fragile they look. Because sometimes the feeble girl is proficient in every way that matters, and by the time you realize it, the fight is already over.